Good morning, I am Pete, also known as Risk for Rewards, or over on Twitter known as @Risk for Rewards. Currently got around 20,600 followers, I think it is, over on Twitter. Got about 1,600 here on YouTube, so if you're not following and you want to, then if you click the subscribe, it just means you get the YouTube links straight away sent to your phone or to your TV or whatever it is you watch on. I find it easy to use, but it's your choice. Back to the lucky spot, just thought we'd do another quick rundown, very low key. Just based on yesterday. Yesterday I was struggling to find bets, and it's one of those days, fortunately, because I'm not a tipster or I don't write for anything, is that if you don't have much you fancy, then you don't put it up. So I did have I wrote about three different races. The first race was the handicap, the Victoria Cup. Two horses put up, Totally Charming and Baradar, both from the George Bowie yard, both wearing tongue ties, soft ground, trip back to 7 furlongs. Plenty of things that I thought were very similar, very much aimed at the race. Ran very different races. Baradar was drawn low, and in a normal year, obviously you'd expect him to either come up the middle or switch across, but unfortunately he did switch across, and the winner actually came from a low draw, so maybe he would have been better off staying where he was. All the same, he was beaten, not well beaten, but he was obviously finished in 6th. I wouldn't put you off him for Royal Ascot, so I'd keep him in the tracker, seeing as that was the main aim, but I just thought maybe he was a horse that enjoyed the Cup. But there's nothing to say in his form because he's so unexposed. That was only his 3rd run for George Bowie. The handicapper may even drop him a pound or two. That there could be plenty more to come with a claimer on at Royal Ascot, where that was obviously the main aim. And then the other one, Totally Charming, ran a much better race in Ireland than he did at Royal Ascot, at Ascot yesterday, I thought. He travelled okay, but he just never really featured. He had another that, obviously, once you know the draws, where the draw bias and everything for Royal Ascot, I'd imagine both of them two will end up in the same race, and they'll be fighting everyone else to try and get the best claimers. So don't write them off. It wasn't the end of the world yesterday. It was just one of those. At the end of the day, if you did the each way 6, Baradar still was in the 6 and drifted all the way to 9-1. But it's just one of those. And then on to yesterday. So obviously I put the 2-year-old up, Ocean Point, and Ocean Runner, sorry, Blue Point. It's just one of those with 2-year-olds. Maybe it's a bit silly of me. That's why I did say, it literally stated in the thing, maybe a pound or a free bet, and it was 25-1 for the Coventry. Horses like that don't win the Coventry. They may become a Group 1 horse later on down the line, but it just shows you are really guessing with the 2-year-olds. So it's probably better to wait, see a blistering debut, and then just try and beat everyone to the punch and back in it afterwards. The problem is you've got no idea. There's so many options at Ascot. People complain about Cheltenham having 2 mile, 2 mile 4, 3 mile. Like at Ascot, you've got multiple 5 furlong races. You've got 6 furlong, 7 furlong, miles, for all sorts of ages and sizes. Brilliant spectacle, but you are guessing. But the other side of it is there's so many horses, it's always going to be competitive. So it just means that you're probably going to get 4-1 or upwards on the day anyway, in something like the Coventry, unless you're looking at like the next Calix. Anyway, so yep, that's just an easy swerve. And then on to the other one, and that was Military Order. So Military Order, my recommendation was to back him on the day. He went off evens in the end, but back him just to get your stake for the Derby back. So I mean, I looked at some of the specials, and normally they're around like 10-12-1, but for whatever reason yesterday they were 8-1 and 9-1 to win yesterday and to win the Derby, and that was just awful price. That's you getting like the equivalent of like a 1-4 or 1-5 on him winning yesterday and the Derby. So it wasn't worth doing, but 7-1 seemed fair. He's now into 9-2. I still think that's pretty fair. I get it, but people have looked at horses like Arrest winning at Chester and saying, oh, he's won further, he's won easier and all of that. But Arrest doesn't really strike me as a Derby type. Gosden stated very similar afterwards. That race was not a great race anyway. He'd already finished ahead of the Aidan O'Brien horse in 2nd. They finished tired. It was very soft ground. Frankie took him very wide. That was nothing like a Derby trial. Arrest to me, I'm not going to stand there and say he's not going to win, because I know plenty of people are on at 25-1, but obviously I'm judging him on like a 4 or 5-1 shot that he is now. And I just think if you gave me Military Order or Arrest, not over the course of the season, but for a Derby type, I think Military Order is a standout between those two, just because of the way he looks, his demeanour and stuff. So I'm not knocking Arrest in any sort of way, but I just think for the profile of that specific race, I could see Arrest is still going to be a very good horse, I don't doubt it, but just going towards the Derby. And I just look at the other trials, and I just think Military Order from the last 7 days is the one that stands out for me. mainly, obviously, maybe I'm getting hung up a little bit on the whole Adyar thing, because obviously he is a full brother to Adyar, who was they're very similar. Appleby's campaigned them similar, like a big brute of a horse, slowly letting them take each race by race, slowly progress, learn more, hard off the bridle. But yesterday he had no right to win that race. I know Buick gave him a perfect ride, and if he hadn't given him a perfect ride, would he have got up? Most people would say no, why Pero would have won, and that could be the case. It just depends on, if he hadn't got the gap, what trip would he have got? Would he have had to come around the houses, or who knows? But Pero only made his run because Buick snatched the line. They both went at that time. So if that hadn't happened, maybe he would have got... It's so difficult to assess. Looking at those two going forward, I'd say that, again, maybe I'm biased. I think Military Order will... If those two are at Epsom, I think Military Order will finish in front of him maybe 8 or 9 times out of 10 again. Just because I don't think that track would have suited him whatsoever. The sharp track, your ability to not get going is very difficult at Lingfield. Even if it was at Kempton with the cutaway, it would have given him more time to find his stride regardless of his trip. And I think Buick would have wanted to have been either almost at the front or as prominent as he could be, and the plan would have always been to kick at that bend. So he got lucky with the perfect sweep. Obviously Buick is the champion jockey for a reason, and he gave him the perfect ride. Hero obviously had the whole straight to get back at him, and did get back at him, and he just found more and he kept going. And I just think that was just such a perfect perfect trial, which is exactly what it was. Like, you could have said he could have done everything and then got beaten and people would have questioned it, but it was a perfect trial to find again and then go away from him, and to win going away. And I just think Epsom is such a long straight. It has got awkward cambers. He doesn't look like a horse that's going to cause an issue. I think he'll have him tucked in, and I just think he's got very strong standout chances in a wide open derby. Like, we've still got plenty more trials to come. You forget with the flat, it's not like the jumps. They're not waiting 3 to 6 weeks a gap. Like, there'll be other horses, like say a Pero may, if they wanted to, run again in 3 weeks time and then go to the derby, and it won't affect his chances. So what I'm saying is there's plenty more water to go under the bridge, and I have got a couple that I'll put up at the end of the video for going forwards towards the Dante on Thursday. Whilst everyone was watching yesterday on the Saturday, I was looking at the decks for the Musadora and the Dante on Wednesday and Thursday to try and scramble a few early prices. But yeah, going forward, I just think he's got outstanding claims. He's got the pedigrees all there. He's progressing every run, and I just like it that he's still very raw. So Augusta Rodin has the best form. He's the best numbers. Plenty of people will say you can't possibly do it, but you've got to remember he's with Aidan O'Brien. So if Aidan O'Brien sends him there, and there's also nothing to say that he won't run again before. So what if he runs again over an island in a weak race? He has a perfect run. You see much more like what you saw last year. He bolts up, then everyone's suddenly like, oh, he's definitely worth 2 to 1. And in reality, not a lot's changed. You just need to see a lot better than what you've seen before, but it looks like we might not see that till the day. So it'll be interesting to see what happens. But that top end of the Derby, I think also that it wouldn't surprise me if the Dante winner goes 4 to 1 as well, because the bookies don't seem to have any more of an idea than anyone else. And you could end up having like 3 or 4 to 1 the field, and then an Irish winner will probably win another trial in the next 7 days, and that will go 4 to 1. So it just looks like one of those years where because Augusta Rodin's still holding the market up, they don't know what to do with him. They just seem to be putting everything in about the same sort of price as him. Whereas normally you might get something like an Arrest. There wouldn't be an Augusta Rodin, and Arrest might go in at 3 to 1, and then Military Order might come in at, say, I don't know, 7 to 2. So yeah, it's an interesting one. But yeah, Military Order I'm still happy with at 9 to 2, and 7 to 1. I just think, yeah, he's of what you've seen so far. If you'd only had the one bet and that was it, then I'd be happy with that. Obviously, I've got Augusta Rodin at 16 to 1, but I'm taking that away as a complete bias, a non-biased opinion. Like, if you looked at what we've seen so far this season, until you know he trains on, it's very difficult to be strong on his chances. Right, so that's yesterday covered. On to today. So today is the French 2000 and 1000 Guineas, and as everyone knows, I love the equivalent of the Champions League of horse racing, which is all the Group 1s. I did put this up on the Discord early doors, and I also put this up on YouTube early doors, so hopefully a few people have got a price. If you haven't, apologies, there's nothing I can do about the prices they are now, but you're still going to get the same information that I put up on both the video and the Discord, and that I put up on Twitter yesterday, so you can make your own decision. So we'll cover the 2000 Guineas first. 2000 Guineas, we've got American flag. It's hard to say, well, it's not hard to say. He's incredibly progressive, loves the heavy ground, and he's got that limitless potential currently. Strong traveller, comes from the rear, loves the heavy ground, and is just mopping up these French races. Has been beaten throughout his career by Valimi I think it was on his debut actually. Valimi reopposes here, and I've seen some market money for him, gone 12s into 7s. Perhaps people are backing him off the chance of that, but I'd have to think American Flag's improved since then. When I put him up on Discord, he was 11-2. When I put him up on YouTube, he was 7-2, and he's now obviously 6-4. But as we all know, unless the horse wins, you don't get paid any more, regardless of what price you got. But I do think he's got outstanding chances, and it'd be good to see him go in here on a Group 1. But at the same time, if you look at the bare form, he's actually behind a few of the others. So you look at Isaac Shelby, who obviously won the Group 3 Greenham Stakes, and he was very impressive in winning it there. And obviously a lot of people put it down to a fluke or a no-show race because of Chowdine. But if Chowdine wasn't entered in the race and you just ran the Greenham, then he's ran a very, very good win for the Greenham. And he's also in behind. The form's nothing special, the likes of Charon and stuff in behind, and they haven't exactly excelled. I think Charon maybe came 9th in the 2000 Guineas, but it was on the soft/heavy ground again. The times of sectionals were good, and everything about the race looked good. So if he can repeat that form, he's one that has shown that he's improved from 2 to 3. And he has the highest numbers. He's got the best ratings. He's got the best RPRs. So he's currently around the 3-1. He's another on the Discord I put up at 6-1, and on Twitter I put him up at on YouTube I put him up at 7-2. So you could have Dutched the pair to pay out around even money. Obviously, if you're looking at today's prices, it's tougher, but there's not a lot I can do about that. And he does have outstanding claims. In behind, O'Brien's got his one. I think it's Hans Andersen, who's just like, the thing is with O'Brien is he likes to send solid horses all over, but you just can never work out which one his real Derby contender is, because he doesn't know it himself. He just sends them to all these different trials and then works out who's the best. Obviously, he's won this with St. Mark's Basilica in the past, and maybe that horse is going to be a good one, but you won't know. That the depth will come from France rather than coming from over here, because we don't send many runners. They're both drawn in stall 1 and 2. Which obviously Isaac Shelby pretty much made all last time, and American Flag will go from the back. American Flag will go under Christophe Soumillon from the back, so just hope he doesn't get too far back. We know that Super Sumi is brilliant on his day, but he also can be renowned for getting there too late at times. But I'd still have faith in both of those two to run big races, and obviously you'd look towards the Arc if they were impressive. Obviously it's only over 8 furlongs today, so you wouldn't want to be rushing that. And then we go across to 1,000 Guineas, and we've got last year's superhero Blue Rose Sen. So she was absolutely brilliant she was brilliant throughout her whole season last year, but in particular in the Marcel Boussac. She won the Group 1 Marcel Boussac 5 lengths, I think it was. And obviously I've got no notes, so I think the Aidan O'Brien runner is Never Ending Story, who finished in second that day. Never Ending Story had a more troubled passage, but I rewatched it again last night and thought, yeah, but was she lucky to get first run? But I just thought Blue Rose Sen was going away further and further, and there's another who likes the soft ground, the heavy ground. She's got the best form in the race by quite a fair way. She is the only Group 1 winner in the race. And it's on form. She's returned. She went off from the front on her return. So the stall 1 or 2, providing she breaks well and she'll go off on front again, they may well go with that tactic again. She went from the front and she bolted up from the front last time out. She may well go for that sort of method, or she can be held up and sit prominent like she did in the Boussac, and she won from there. But the thing is, she's beaten the second favourite. She's also beaten the third favourite. I think it's Lindy. And then you look down the numbers, and like most of those have got 10 to £15 to find, and that's if she's running to her normal level. She's very unexposed, so she could improve even more so. So the improvement's there, and if she runs to the level of the Boussac, then she's going to be laughing, and she'll be very, very tough to beat. If she improves again, obviously she's going to be even harder to beat. You can never really write off an Aidan O'Brien horse, because his mares and fillies just improve for all their runs and their age. But at the same time, it's hard to say for sure that she's going to do that and reverse that 5-length beating. I think Blue Rose Sen will be tough to beat, but obviously the market tells you that now. The Discord, it was 2-1, and on YouTube it was 6-4. She's now 10-11, so depending on the type of punter you are, people say you can't get value at the front end, but if you put £5 on it at 2-1, you could now lay it off at £5, and you get, if she loses, you lose nothing, and if she wins, you win £5. So it's like having the same price as what you got today. So you can find value at the front end of the market. It's just you have to be ahead of the game. But if you don't lay it off, like I won't be laying my stake off. If she loses, it doesn't matter whether you've got 10 to 1 or even money today, like a loss is a loss. So yeah, but I think she'll be tough to beat. So yeah, in summary, those two are obviously we've got the Isaac Shelby, an American flag, in the 2000, and in the 1000 we've got Blue Rose Sen. And the 1000 is called the Poulaines, if you're wondering what it is. So finally, just a quick look forward. Obviously I mentioned I have backed Arctic Cosmos, which I put on Twitter, and at 10 to 1 for the Oaks. Obviously we saw Aidan O'Brien's horse at Chester absolutely destroy the field, and maybe she's going to be she's definitely the one to beat. The times of sectionals have come back strong for that, but she runs on Wednesday, so it'll be interesting to see what lines up against her. No point taking a price because she's already 6 or 7 to 4. I'd imagine there'll be a few turn up and you can have a look to see what she's racing against. But the Dante was more interesting, mainly because the joint favourite at the moment for the Dante is Military Order, who obviously ran yesterday. So Appleby's not going to run him again. So when the decks come out for this, the market is going to shorten. You've got at the top, the horse that I do like, and I have backed it for, you can get 4 to 1, Flying Honours, who sets the standards, is basically very similar to Military Order. I think 3 out of 4 wins last year, achieving RPRs of around 108. So it doesn't need a lot of improvement to feature in this sort of a race. But the main angle I was looking at is the other market leaders are horses like Military Order, who won't run, Epictetus, who won on comeback, but I thought that was a weak race and only just held on, finishing off the race, rather than one going away. And obviously did finish behind August Road In, but that form's took plenty of knocks since. And then you've got Continuous of Aidan O'Brien, who scrambled home over in France at the end of last year, but he got that race due to the fact that the other horse got disqualified, and the other horse in third finished it within a length as well. So it was almost like a scramble. So maybe he'll improve, but at the same time, he doesn't look a world beater. But then again, will there be a world beater? This doesn't look a spectacular renewal, which is what brings me on to my other selection, which is the Sir Michael Stout horse, Passenger. So that horse is currently 7 to 1, and I've backed that each way. Just because I just think that they've supplemented. The horse won a race, has only raced once, a bit like Desert Crown coming in here, and won 10 grand. Well, they've paid 14 grand supplementing him in here. I mean, Michael Stout's not one to waste bullets, and obviously he might not be good enough here, but I'd be disappointed if he can't get in the 3, because obviously that would be connections wasting their money, and it'd be strange to put him there. He may still be a bit too green, but obviously Ryan Moore rode last time out, and I'd imagine with the feedback, he'll know whether it's got a horse to take place in a Dante or not. So I think the two of them, I've obviously Flying Honours at 4 to 1 and Passenger at 7 to 1. They're the two for me that I want to take for the Dante. And yeah, okay, it's Andy Post, I may well lose my money, but at the same time, if some of these do fall away and they don't turn up, like Military Order, then this field, because the other horse, there's a very impressive Irish winner who won one of the Derby trials, but is all its running has been done on soft and heavy ground. So if they're coming across here, it would depend on the conditions. If the conditions are like good ground, then they may not travel. They may not travel anyway. So and that horse would have the best form in the race. I can't remember what it is actually off the top of my head, but I just had it in my head, will they definitely travel? And it wasn't guaranteed, so I just thought it was worth a chance. I could be wrong, the prices could get bigger. Passenger could be like a 16 to 1 shot on the day, but I just don't see it myself. So yeah, those. So for Thursday, that's 4 to 1 Flying Honours and 7 to 1 each way I've gone on Passenger. So I hope you all have a good weekend. This is just a quick debrief, obviously car park catchphrase. Come back to the lucky spot after last week's 3 winners and 1 second last week. So hopefully we can get something out of the French races today. And yeah, going forward, we've got a big week ahead, because obviously from Wednesday onwards, it's some good racing at York for all the trials for the Derby and the Oaks again. So speak to you soon. Hope you have a great weekend, and I am Risk for Awards. Goodbye.